Yet another PvP guide video, not like there's enough of them. How to get better at PvP, aiming, movement, what settings to use, I'm just going to be covering everything. First up, let's talk about something specific to Arc Raiders, movement. Okay, so the first tip is going to be that every time you do a dodge roll, you can skip animations. Not reloading, but for example, if I have another gun here, swap to the gun and then roll. It will be immediately available to shoot without having to wait to pull it out. Alright, so oh no, I'm out of ammo with my Beretta. Instead of waiting for that long weapon swap time, you can just roll and immediately have your weapon out. So this can be a very oppressive thing to do. That would kill somebody pretty quick. It didn't kill the dummy, but you can see the vision. That is very powerful. Next up is going to be a little movement technique that pretty much everybody knows about already, but I'll just cover it really quickly in case you don't. You can dodge backwards to cancel your slide roll. So if you have a shotgun, you can just crouch slide around a corner and then immediately get a blast off and then just dodge roll away to safety. So imagine this is a wall. That guy, he's not reacting to that. He's not hitting me. Like, yeah, there's no way. 3 damage. I think I got that guy. Yeah, here's another little movement tip. Instead of doing this and then holding your roll button to negate fall damage, what you can do instead is roll at the edge and then be ready to immediately fire. So you don't have to go through the roll animation at the bottom. And if I do this regularly, I will probably take fall damage. Yep, I take a little bit of fall damage and I stumble. So just get to the very edge of where you're trying to jump off of so that you have the longest amount of animation time for your roll. For example, if I do it here, I'm going to stumble because my animation ran out. So you do it at the very edge at the latest possible timing, and I'm mid-animation so I can just, you know, start blasting. Another small little tip is you can just hold down the key. You don't have to be spamming it. I was just holding it down there and it worked, and it made me automatically roll when I hit the ground. You don't have to spam, you can just hold your key. As far as movement while you're right on top of somebody in PvP, what I recommend doing is if you can't get back to cover, roll past them and then just hope that they, you know, miss their shots. Keep on trying to dance around them. Going all around somebody is going to make it harder for them to hit you because they have to swipe their mouse around and, you know, do all this movement. Like, for somebody like me with 8 bajillion mouse sensitivity, it's not really an issue to do all that because, you know, I can just whip my mouse around and hit people, but some people have much lower sensitivity, and that's actually going to be a problem if you start rolling past them and around them. So it's better than nothing. It's not going to work on everybody, but it'll catch some people out, like in this clip that I'm about to show. Let's start talking about just general combat and fighting people. When you're fighting an enemy, this is very obvious, but always try to have cover between you and them. This is going to sound very obvious, but just always try to move cover to cover. Don't run out in the open. Always have a next target cover to hide behind in mind while you're running out and pushing somebody. You don't want to push out in the open. That you're just going to get shot and you're going to die. One thing people tend to do is they overextend when they're peeking. So you don't need to be peeked all the way out here to shoot. You can be just like tucked in here. And barely any part of my body is out to the point where that turret's not even going to be able to hit me. And so if I get closer to this wall, I can really show you that. You can get some tight peeks here. My entire head is fully hidden. Only my arm and my elbow is poking out. And I can still shoot perfectly unimpeded. So try to hold very tight angles when you're peeking. If you swing out like this, you don't need to be out this far. You're just giving enemies free damage and an easy shot. If you're hidden way back in this corner, you can still shoot very deep, and like if they're going to hit you, they're going to hit your arm, which has reduced damage. It has like 75% damage. So you're taking less damage and you're able to shoot just like unimpeded. Moving on to the next topic, aim. I personally do not do aim training. I personally just play the game, and the more you play the game and the more that you really focus on trying to get better at aiming while playing and focus on going for headshots, the better you're going to be at aiming. But if you do want to do aim training, there's a free one, Aim Labs. It's on Steam. You can check it out. I personally don't, but it's not a bad thing to get into. There's not really anything that I can say that's going to immediately make you better at aiming. It really just comes with practice and time, and just, you know, playing the game more. Any game, really, not a specific game. FPS games are going to translate to just each other, no matter what. But I can give you a couple tips. First is very simple, just always consciously be aiming for the head if you can. You're not going to be hitting headshots, you're not going to be getting better at hitting headshots if you're not consciously going for it. You'll never improve, and you're not going to start hitting headshots if you don't aim for the head. Go figure. Second, make sure your sensitivity is okay for you. Sensitivity is 100% personal preference. For me, I have a 800 DPI, very high sensitivity right now. I do really recommend trying out 75% ADS multiplier. It feels way better for me personally, but it's personal preference. Find a sensitivity that works well for you. And just because the sensitivity that I have on right now works pretty good, doesn't mean that I can't change it to something random, like, I don't know, it's way lower right now, and still be able to just get used to it. So let's take a look at how I do. I'm a little bit off on those far flicks, but just like a couple seconds is all it took for me to have decent aim there. Just move your mouse around a bit, feel it out, see how it feels, and hey, it's not bad. As far as finding what sensitivity works well for you, I recommend going to the practice range, grab a kettle, and just practice aiming at the head while you're moving around and transferring your aim between targets, such as between two different dummies. And just generally try to keep track of the target. Do some dodge rolls and make sure you try to track the enemy through your dodge roll. Just get a good feel of keeping an aim on the enemy during quick movement, and just keeping them always properly lined up. Doing movements like these, and you can be as quick or slow as you want. This is going to be tailored to your own specific skill level. But just being able to do movements like these and keeping track of the enemy. If you can't do this smoothly and you can't really like transition between targets, I do recommend just fiddling with your sensitivity until you find something that you can kind of comfortably do this. Just general tracking motions and swapping between the targets. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not dead on with my hipfire, but it's good enough. And during quick motions, being able to keep track. Just general motions like this where you're tracking and swapping. Just to find something that feels comfortable. And it's going to be personal preference. Just find something that feels comfortable. That's all it is, really. And the rest is going to come from practice and time. I don't recommend copying other people's sensitivities, genuinely. I think that it is much better to just find your own sensitivity and find something that feels good for you. But, I mean, if you wanted to know what mine is, and you want to try it out, there it is. A lot of people are finding out that Arc Raiders by default has both aim smoothing and mouse acceleration, which means that your mouse doesn't go exactly where you want it to go during fast movements. And there's also no way to turn it off in the options. However, if you go, this is going to upset some people, by the way, in the comments are going to call me a cheater, but if you go to the game user settings file for Arc Raiders in user, app data, local, Pioneer game, saved, config, Windows client, game user settings.ini, and paste in these 4 lines of text at the bottom. I'll just put them in the description so you can copy paste them. You can enable raw input for your mouse, disable mouse smoothing, and disable mouse acceleration. Now, there are some people who seem to think that this does not work, and that it's, placebo. But for me personally, I've done testing, and it does seem to work. And even if it doesn't work and it's placebo, you're not losing anything by putting it in. It's not negative mouse acceleration because I'm winding up on the same spot, the slow and the fast swipes. Maybe there's like a tiny variation there. Like, I think that's human error. I really do think that's human error. because I'm winding up around here on my fast swipe. Oh, that went off the mouse pad. Yeah, I'm winding up around this area, around the yellow barricade, and then with a slow swipe, I'm a little bit short. But then with this fast swipe there, I just wound up in the same spot. And it's just, yeah, there's no negative accel there. That being said, it's not a big deal. All my previous videos were recorded with the mouse smoothing and negative acceleration on. I'd never changed my config file for any of my previous videos. So it's not like the end of the world. You can play the game and aim perfectly fine with it enabled. You don't need to go into your settings. Anybody who says otherwise is coping and they're overreacting and they have a skill issue. It's really not that big of a deal. Okay, now that I'm going to be called a hacker, cheater, and an exploiter in the comments for knowing how to open up a text file, let's move on to the next topic, graphics settings. Again, this is all mostly going to be personal preference. All you need to know is the lower your settings, the higher your frame rate is going to be. Smoother frame rate, higher frame rate is going to make you is going to make it easier to play the game and to shoot enemies. That's pretty much it. The only thing that could give you an advantage is low view distance. Sometimes walls and stuff and objects at a very far distance will not render, and you can see enemy players like through it. So that's pretty much the only thing that could give you a competitive advantage. As far as anti-aliasing, I personally do not do it. I have 2,073,600 of God's own pixels on my monitor, and I want to see every single one of them. Moving on to crosshairs. Again, personal preference. Here's my settings if you want to copy them, but personal preference, find one that looks good for you. I know a lot of people like to use the circle crosshair. For me personally, it just kind of gets in the way and it's pretty distracting, but it does show you your exact spread. So it's a pretty good option. Keybinds, where are they? Here, keybinds. I just use default, except for my shoulder swap is on my thumb button. And I also use left control for crouch, and that's pretty much the only things that have changed, except for my voice, my proximity chat, that's all. Everything else is default. As far as general gameplay is concerned, I'll go over a few things real quick. First of all, third-person game, people can see you around a corner. Try not to stand out in the open, because they can just pre-aim your head, pop around the corner, and get a free headshot on you. Instead, unfortunately, it's just a sad reality of third-person games. You're going to have to be that guy on the corner who pops around and shoots somebody as they come out into the open. And to build on that first point, people really like to just stay on the same corner forever, which is not good. You want to not be staying on the same corner because you can easily get grenaded. Grenades are very, very important in Arc Raiders. He's one.
Just you, just you.
He's dead. So if you're going in geared, I recommend always bringing in at least one stack of grenades. Because if somebody's on a corner, you can just throw an impact grenade and get a bunch of free damage. If you throw a trigger nade, you get a lot of free damage. Third, don't be afraid to disengage and flank. As I said, a lot of people, even teams, are going to just sit there and watch on the same corner, and they're not going to move. They're going to wait for you to move. So if you disengage and you flank, you'll be able to catch them unaware 9 out of 10 times. You're going to just be able to get free damage on them, a free headshot, a free grenade, whatever, and you get a massive advantage in that fight. Just make sure that you stop and listen for jolt mines when you're on a flank. Fourth general gameplay tip. This is a little bit complicated, but bear with me. Shields, even if they only have one singular charge point, give the full damage reduction for the next instance of damage. So let me go up here and equip a light shield. And let me grab a trigger nade here. A light shield, normally, you would take a trigger nade, you would get hit, and then if you also got snap blast grenaded, you would die. Normally, if I got snap blast grenaded right now, I only have maybe 40 health. This is 70 damage. I should die. But if I have, hang on, where's the medic bag? If I have even 1 point of charge, I get full damage negation for the next hit. And so I barely survive because that 70% damage, all of that got reduced by 40%. So there's actually some nuance for when you should use your shield chargers versus medical. A lot of people think that you should always use bandages first. You should always med your actual health first. But if you have around half HP, it might be better to get your shield charger in first because you can get a big damage reduction bonus and you can survive. For example, if I popped a bandage there instead of a shield charger, I die. So it is very good to know that even one single point of charge is going to save you from a lot of damage. I have full damage reduction right now. It's not going to save me because I only had 1 HP. So in that situation, bandage first every time. But if I had like half or 40 health, then yeah, you would probably use a shield charger. And that's about all I have for you right now. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Bye.